G'day guys, Luke from Defender Adventure here, and behind me is our brand new 2026 INEOS Grenadier Family Plus setup. So today I'm just going to give you a quick walkthrough. We essentially call this a virtual handover. So hopefully this gives you all the information you need so that when you're out there on the road, you understand this vehicle and know how to use it and set it up. First things first, the diesel filling point is here. So the actual vehicle that you will have on the road will have the auxiliary tank fitted also, meaning there'll be two filler necks. One will be for the factory tank, which is the one we've got here, and then the second will be for the 105 litre auxiliary tank, and then you've got a 90 litre factory tank, so collectively 195 litres of fuel. The fuel is transferred from auxiliary to main tank via a pump, and I'll show you when we get inside the vehicle how you can activate that. With your set of keys, there will be two small silver keys which are to unlock the filler caps. Please only obviously refuel with diesel. Next, in terms of fluids, is our water tank. So there's a 40 litre tank beneath the canopy. The refilling point is here between the vehicle and the canopy. So there's a cap here which needs removing for filling up. Otherwise, to access your water, you can unscrew the breather nipple anti-clockwise with this obviously in position, and then that allows a little bit of air to push through the tank so that when you open the valve, your water runs. To refill the water tank, what we advise is you remove this cap completely. There's a hose in the rear trundle drawer. Connects the hose to the tap. Remove this cap completely. Open the valve and then turn the source tap on, and what you're doing is backfilling the tank. That's your water. The rooftop tents I will explain separately as a standalone video, setup and pack down. This side of the canopy here is our storage side. Our canopies do have central locking, so with the small remote here, simply press unlock and then undo the whale tails. On the canopy wings there are lights, so they go on and they change to an off-white or an orange. Washing line fitted to the inside of the canopy door for hanging up obviously wet clothes. Then this large void here is reserved exclusively for luggage, and then any large bulky items that we may include. There's a shelf. Up on the shelf is sleeping bags for the front tent. The sleeping equipment for the rear tent will pack down inside of it. Some towels, so beach and bath. And then in our toolbox, we have our compressor accessories, and up here is the air compressor. So with tyre pressure, we do recommend 40 psi on road, 30 psi on corrugations, and 20 psi on soft sand or a kind of off-road rocky traverse. With the gauge by itself, you can deflate tyre pressure. So what we would do is remove the gauge, unscrew the dust cap, connects directly to the tyre, take our reading, which right now is high 30s, and then if we were to air down, we hold this lever in. Air escapes. When we reference that we are at 30 or 20, we're good to move on to the next tyre, and always make sure all tyres are at the same pressure. When it comes to pumping up, we do suggest you keep the vehicle's engine running. The compressor here is connected to the secondary battery, and that will obviously deplete it unnecessarily. So keep the vehicle's engine running. Plug the hose into the tank, plug the gauge onto the hose. When that is all in sync, you can flick the switch. You would leave the compressor running. I'll simply turn it on and off for a demonstration. Now, when you connect to the tyre and hold the lever in, air will go into the tyre, and when you let go and reference you're back to 40, you're good to proceed to the next tyre. Again, this hose here will reach the other side. We do suggest you pass it through the back row of seats to avoid this getting damaged if being slung underneath the chassis. And then the other attachment we provide is an air gun. So this here allows you to keep things clean. So if you have dust in the canopy, sand on your feet, or even sand on your chairs, you can use this to give everything a bit blast off. That's your compressor. Over on the passenger side of the vehicle is essentially kitchen and living. So I'll start up on the headboard, which is where our dual battery system lives. Here is your gauge. So right now we can see the secondary batteries at 100%. We can toggle through and see how many amps are being consumed. So roughly 3. Estimated runtime, 68 hours. And 13.3 volts. Then we've got our 2000 watt inverter. So what that does is it obviously powers things that require household plug. If you were to use this, flick it to the on position and then hear the second switch on. Once that blue light is solid, that means it's working. When you're not using this, do make sure it's off, and do be mindful at 2000 watts, it can't power anything that requires more than that. For example, hair dryers, microwaves, things like that. Then we've got our USBs. So there's a A and a C, and then a 12 volt SIG socket. So if you had any adapters, and then a spare Anderson plug there as well. We've got the 130 litre upright fridge. So biggest in its class. Freezer box up in there with an ice cube tray. Shelves removable and drawer in the bottom, and sliders in the door for holding bottles in place. Next up is our pantry. So these pop up and then they slide out. And basically you can store all your non-perishables up in here. We've just got some items here for demo. Beneath that is a large storage void. So we've just chucked a tub up in this one. Then we've got our kitchen drawer. So in here will be all your kitchenware. And then beneath that, prep table for standing around and preparing food or having a drink. Please make sure you put a chopping board down on here. Don't cut directly, otherwise you'll ruin our beautiful map of Australia. And then this void here is where we put the table, another little step, and then chairs. Again, you've got the lights on the wings. So same thing, you can turn them on and off. You can change the color, and then you can actually dim or maximize them. And then under here, we just provide a basic recovery gear. So snatch strap and some shackles, and dustpan and brush for keeping things tidy. If you were to perform a snatch strap recovery involving another vehicle, the vehicle does have 2 rated recovery points on the rear, and then similarly up front. On the rear of the vehicle, we obviously have the 2 spare all-terrain tyres, and then in the middle here is where the gas bottle will reside. And then in our rear trundle drawer, our advice is obviously you set up your gas cooker or your barbecue here on this lid, and then you can connect directly to the gas bottle and never have to move that gas bottle around. It'll be a 4 kilo bottle, so that should last a good 6 weeks. If you remove the lid, this is where we store some bits and pieces. So recovery boards on the right hand side, black hose for gas, which is gas cooker there, blue hose for filling up your water tank. There is a collapsible sink for washing up. There would be a collapsible bucket as well in the shower system there. And then we have our straps pegs and ropes, and a mallet for the large 270 wraparound awning. That's everything on the rear.